Good evening, everyone. This is Brody from Outperform Fitness, and welcome to tonight's career chat. So tonight we've got the opportunity to bring on Tia, who has recently enlisted into the RAAF, so the Air Force, and she's enlisted as Air Force security. So she just completed her IETs, so she's going to have some awesome insight for everyone and answer any sort of questions that you've got about that role. So we're going to go through enlistment. We're going to go through basic training and where she's at right now with her career. And as I said, she's just gotten out of her IET, so plenty of information there. Tia actually went through my Battle Ready program. So she started through her enlistment. She went through and I helped her get nice and fit to go through all of the enlistment and get ready for basic training and all of that sort of initial stuff. And then she's gone away and done her basic training, her IETs, and now she's back on board with the Battle Ready program again, just to enhance that fitness even more and get some real structured training in there. So if you are looking to join the RAAF or join any sort of tactical service, or you're already in and you want that little bit of enhancement with your fitness, then feel free to check out my Battle Ready program. I'll leave a link in the description for this, so you can go ahead and check it out, or you can reach out to me at any point, leave a comment, anything like that, and I'll give you some more information about it. Alrighty, so let's bring in Tia. Tia, thank you very much for doing this career chat for us. It's always good to sort of bring people on once they've made it through. It's like mission accomplished. You've made it through all your basic training. You're actually serving in that job that you wanted to get in at. So how's it feel right now for you?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been a hell of a journey. There was a couple stages where I didn't think I'd get here, but no, it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, just give a brief intro on yourself. So a little bit like a real brief overview of your enlistment, like how long it took you to go from signing on the dotted, like putting in your application through your enlistment, any sort of hiccups or anything like that, and where you're at right now with your career.
Yeah, so at the start of my journey, I think the whole enlistment process for me took about 18 months. And the biggest holdup there was medical. They can be quite a pain. And I think I had like 3 months where I just didn't hear from them. So definitely with that, like you just got to get on the phone and sort of chase them down a little bit. And the full-time role for Air Force security wasn't recruiting at the current stage. So I ended up going through the gap year program, which worked out to be a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's actually a really good program, really good deal that they run. But yeah, it took a long time. Medical, fun to deal with. But if you're keen on doing it, just keep bringing them, keep chasing them up, and you'll get there eventually, 100%.
Yeah, just stick with it. So whereabouts are you at with your career at the moment?
So I'm currently about 3 months into my first posting. So I've finished basic, finished my IETs, and then I'm at my first posting here at RAAF East Sale, which has been pretty good. My first sort of opportunity being a part of a squadron. It's a pretty small squadron, and just getting into the swing of things, into the routine.
Beautiful. That's awesome. So if you're just joining in on this live, the way this is going to work out is I'll just go through and ask some questions. We're going to start off with enlistment, go through basic training and her career at the moment. And then at the end, I will have the opportunities for you guys to answer your questions. So if you do have any questions, make sure you just leave them in the comments section and we'll get around to answering them at the end. So, all right, let's get into your enlistment side of things. So firstly, what inspired you to want to join the RAAF to start with?
So originally I was actually an Air Force cadet as a teenager. So I did that for about 5 years, between 13 and 18. And I just got sort of a little taste into what military life was like and thought I was going to be a pilot. And as everyone does, went through that extreme. And then I tossed up a couple of different roles, ended up landing on security. I liked that it had that sort of combat aspect, and it seemed a little bit more hands-on and sort of like adventurous from the bio than a lot of the other roles. And I liked that it was a short course, short IETs as well, so you weren't really sort of committing to a huge time in defense afterwards, or like a almost 2-year course or whatever. So yeah, landed on this role and thought I'd give it a crack and see how it goes. Yeah.
And it all worked out for you.
It did.
That's good. So prior to setting up, so obviously I already said before that you were on my Battle Ready program prior to actually getting started through your enlistment and all that sort of stuff. But prior to that, were you doing any sort of training? Like, were you an active person beforehand, or were you just coming in from scratch, just getting started? And trying to get yourself up to that level.
Yeah, so prior to that, I was actually working for a landscaping company. So I was pretty active at work. But through COVID, I had lost my job and sort of was bouncing around through a lot of different jobs at the time. And so I think that's when I just started on with you. I was trying to figure out how I could improve my fitness without like gyms being open and stuff like that. And then as I got more serious into the application process, I got a lot more serious with my training, because I sort of tried to do some of the PFA requirements myself to see where I was at, and I was definitely not hitting the mark and didn't really have the expertise behind that. So yeah, I think we did like a solid 6 to 8 months of training prior to that, and it's definitely a big change. I think the training was just really well tailored around where I was lacking and what I needed to sort of improve on to get me in. But yeah, it was a lot of work.
Not easy.
It was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
Yep. Well, you're here now, aren't you?
Exactly.
So it's definitely your hard work paid off, which is good. All right. Well, prior enlistment, like a lot of people go in and like they're thinking, should I join, any sort of tactical role? Because it is a pretty big commitment. So did you have any sort of concerns or doubts with yourself actually signing on the dotted line and putting in your application and things like that?
I think it wasn't until I got to recruits that I started to sort of deal with those sort of challenges. Like when I was going through the whole application process, I was pretty definite that, this is what I wanted to do and that I wouldn't really have any sort of issues with that. But once we sort of started doing more combat related stuff and weapons handling training and like CBR&D, like the gas and chemical warfare training and stuff like that, I think that's more so when I started to be like, okay, this is a bit intense, this is a bit full on. But I think over the terms of my training, I definitely had a lot of points where I struggled with that. And then I sort of had to really debate with myself where I was going to be at. And towards the end of my training, I saw a happy place. I think they sort of teach you that it's not really something that anyone wants to do. It's something that is part of the job, 100%, something that we may have to do. But I liked the fact that in all scenarios, in every situation, it was always to be avoided if possible.
Yeah.
Which I think helps settle that sort of concern.
Yeah, that's it. And it's training, like you're going through that basic training. So once you get through it all, you've obviously got those qualifications and everything, but it just gets so much easier after that. So they always tell you, were they telling you that sort of stuff at recruits as well? Like, this is training. The actual well, I was just about to say army, but the actual RAAF isn't like this. You're just going through and building you up right now.
100%. So true as well. Like each stage of my training, from recruits to IETs to actually being in the Air Force, full time now, completely different experiences and completely different mentalities in each of the three stages. And I think they would constantly like mention when you get to actual Air Force or when you get to real Air Force, which I think is a good point to add, because basic is basic and it's almost nothing like what it's actually going to be when you're in the job role, but it's just one of those things that you kind of got to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how'd your fitness hold up down at basic training and through your IATs and stuff? Do you feel like you're, mid-pack, below, above? Where do you reckon you're sitting with that side of things? And in regards to, across the board, whether it be males, females, how was your fitness just across the board with everything?
I think I was sort of mid-pack to low, but that was more so, I think, with my running. Like I've always struggled with running. I haven't been a great runner, so they kind of they do some testing when you first get there and sort of establish where you're at, and then put you in groups according to, so you're not training above your capacity. But I think without doing that 6 months of training with you beforehand, I would have been absolutely screwed. Going into basic, I would have not known what was coming for me. And they definitely, yeah, they definitely are lenient when it comes to fitness, but it can also be something that can get you back coursed or can really, really set you back with your training. So as long as you're consistently able to hit the requirement, be training for what you need to pass before you're there, then you're not going to have any issues. But if you're struggling to sort of meet those requirements before you even get there, then you're going to struggle the whole way through. Yep. And usually, we'll train in the morning at basic, and then we'll spend the whole day sitting in the classroom. And if you're absolutely gassed after training, it really takes away from being able to take in a lot of the things that they're trying to teach you in the classroom. So definitely like that fitness part is big, just in terms of how much it can help you focus your energy on other things. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a huge one that I do bring up all the time. Yeah, it's not just about keeping up with the physical tasks and stuff. It's like being able to do that and then sit in the classroom for 4 or 5 hours and still take notes and remember what the hell you're meant to be doing and not asleep.
100%. I think that was the big. So many people were falling asleep in class because you're just so gassed from PT first thing in the morning that it's like you don't realize that would have as much of an impact as it does.
Yeah. So overall, your enlistment, like your application process and like actually reaching enlistment, how long would have that process taken you? I think you mentioned it before, but yeah, how long did that process take you from start to finish?
From start to finish, it was about 18 months.
Yeah.
But I had to do medical was the elongated that. They wanted me to do some like specialist like lung tests, and I needed to provide like documentation from some surgeries and stuff I had, and that just requesting the paperwork and stuff, I think it took me like 2 or 3 months for that to get released to me.
Yeah.
So that was sort of like completely out of my control. But from the moment I went for the gap year program, it sort of went fast and then slow. So like to get into doing my my interview and my psych and my actual interview, that was really quick. Medical took ages, and then once medical was approved, it was really quick again. Yeah,
and that's the thing. And things can just take it by surprise sometimes. So like we're talking about the fitness side of things, like as soon as you think, or like it should be even before you even think it. But yeah, when you think, okay, I might go for a role in the Defence Force or other police or something like that. Start getting your fitness in check straight away, because that shit takes a long time, and you don't want to get to the point where they're like, hey, you've got this opportunity to join now. Are you ready? And you're like, no, I'm not. You want to be able to take those opportunities, because if you miss that one, it may be a little while until you can actually get in, and then time just sitting with the thumb up the bum. So
yeah, exactly. No, I had the same mindset. I think from the day that I walked out of like my first medical appointment with them, I was like, I'm going to take it seriously. We're going to work. And I'm glad that I had that much time to train and to prepare. But you're exactly right. If you sort of sit and wait around, you could, once your medical gets approved, get the call the next week, and you're sort of stuffed. Or like I knew other people in my course that some of their applications only took 3 months long.
Yeah.
Like it's just really dependent. Like sometimes it moves super fast and sometimes it moves super slow. It just depends what you're going in as, and it depends on your personal history as well. Like sometimes they just get funny with the medical stuff. I didn't really have anything major, but there's still some things that I never would have thought would be an issue they were just a bit funny with.
Yeah, you just got to jump through the hoops, get it done. Don't let it
play
you down. Just get the job done. All right, let's move on to basic training. We've sort of been touching on it a little bit, but we'll dive into it a little bit more here. So, firstly, where was your basic training at?
Yeah, so my basic training was at RAAF Base Wagga, which is in New South Wales.
Yep. And how long does that one go for, your basic training course?
So we were the second course that they dropped the basic training timeline. So it was, I think, 10.5 weeks, and we found out when we got there that we were doing like 9 weeks. So it was a condensed course. It's pretty short now, but it feels like a lifetime when you're there.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're out, you're like, that wasn't very long.
Yeah. Every day is just like a year there, and then you get out and you're like, oh.
Yeah, literally.
Do that again. Yeah, well, that's interesting. I didn't know they dropped the length of the RAAF course as well. So yeah, I know they've been going through and doing it for the Army side of things. So that's interesting. Do you have any, like, once you march out of basic training, with that condensed version, do you have any like lagging things that you need to pick up on at IATs that they would have done previously? If you know, you probably wouldn't know, but yeah,
not really. The way that they condensed it sort of makes sense. It does, I think, make it a little bit more intense while you're there, because I think you've got to try and cram a lot more in than previously, but you don't come out sort of lacking anything. The only thing that I came out with needing to do after recruits was dental work, and that just depends on whether, like, they just said that I needed a filling. But yeah, other than that, all my qualifications were up to date, and I think it sometimes depends on how you go in the course as well. I know someone couldn't do their CBR&D training, and so they have to do that later. But yeah, you shouldn't come out with needing to do anything later.
Yep. How'd you find that? The CBR&D?
I hated it. I think that was there was like a few pivotal moments for me at like recruits. That was definitely one of them. I was absolutely terrified of it. I think it was more so because before we even started doing it, we went through like this PowerPoint presentation of like all the different chemical weapons.
Before you jump into it, explain what it actually is, because most people won't know what that is.
True, yeah. CBR&D training is like, what is it? Chemical, biological,
gas,
pretty
much.
Yeah, it's like chemical warfare or radiation protection, and effectively it's you just like learning how to defend yourself against that kind of weaponry. So usually gas masks and the suits and everything, and they like to make it very intimidating. Looking back on it now, like it after I did it, it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I think it was such a psychological thing for me. I found it, like the mask especially, super claustrophobic.
Yeah.
But after I did it, I was like, that what was I so afraid of? It wasn't even that bad or that hard. I think I just hate those classic like horror movies with the gas mask. I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been watching a little bit of SAS Australia, and because I've done the gas as well, you watch them. There was a couple of episodes where they get gassed in it, and you just know the feeling, and they're like got snot all over themselves, and you just can't stop laughing at it.
It hit me bad. Most people, like some of the boys, it barely even affected. Classic for me, I was actually sick that week as well, so I feel like it's worse. And it hit me like a steam train. I was just snotty and tears everywhere, and it went away after like a minute. It wasn't that bad, but yeah, I looked like a goose.
Yeah, I remember it getting me. It got me pretty bad. We had to go in without the mask, and then you have to put it on, you purge it out and everything. And I did. I remember walking in, and I was just like, oh wow, I feel like I've just had like shards of glass thrown in my nose, thrown in my eyes, and I'm just like breathing in fire. And then and then they get you to put your mask on, and I'm purging all of mine out, and then you have to do your buddy checks, and your buddy's like tapping on me, and I got him to check me, and I'm like, mate, you're gonna have to get someone else because I can't see. There's just snot and just tears everywhere.
I feel like sometimes you need a good buddy.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I feel like some people were not very good at buddy checks, but I think my biggest problem, because I got a really tiny face, that my mask didn't actually seal properly.
Yeah, it gets in there.
I feel like I must have needed a children's size mask or something, but I couldn't get it to seal around my neck here. Feel it creeping in through the seal.
All right, now, so RAAF is a little bit different to Army, so I'd like to know what a typical day is for you. Like, it pretty much just a typical routine for a day. I know every day is different at basics because you're just trying to learn so many different things, but just run through a typical day. What time you get up, what sort of things you do, and what time you go to bed.
So at basic, I have to remember the timings exactly. I feel like I've kind of shut half of it out, but I think we were waking up at 5:45 to 6-ish. You'd get up, you'd pretty much panic, make your bed in like 10 minutes, get dressed as quickly as possible and brush your teeth and everything. Oh, sorry, we'd get up and do sheets over the shoulders, stand outside your room. Everyone would number off, and then you'd go start cleaning your room, get dressed, get ready. And then I think we had to be out by 6:45 or 6. It wasn't much time, but we had to be out, and then we'd march. We'd march up to the mess, have breakfast. Then we'd march back, and then usually get changed, do PT in the morning. PT was normally about an hour-ish, sometimes more than that, but usually about an hour. And then come back, get changed again. A lot of getting changed, a lot of different uniforms. And then you'd be in the classroom for the majority of the day. That's kind of how the layout is for the first half of the course. And then they've now condensed, they call it like green phase. And so once you hit, I can't remember what week it is, but once you hit a certain week in recruits, you transition to green phase, and that's where you'll do all your field stuff. Starts with the CBR&D, all your weapon components and everything is all in that period. So your schedule differs a little bit in terms of rather than being in a class all day, you'll do sort of more classes outside, or you'll go into like sort of some sheds and start doing like your weapons courses and stuff. We did that all outside. So that's kind of like the two phases, and then you'll finish just before you finish the course. You'll go and do your field phase, which is less than a week. I actually think it was like 3 days, or 5 days, maybe 5 days at field. And then you come back and you're pretty much done. You know, you come back and do your final PFA, and then start practicing for grad parade. The first half is pretty much PT, classes, walking to and from for meals, and then the second half is all the green phase stuff, which is fun.
Yeah, I'm surprised you even do any field in the RAAF.
I know, like compared to you guys, like I feel like I can't even moan about it because it's nothing compared to what you guys do. But it was definitely still an experience, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, on that, what was probably the most exciting, like best experience that you had while you were going through your basic training, if you can remember anything in particular?
I really enjoyed a lot of the weapon stuff. I loved learning how to like break it down and put it back together. Like I just found that fascinating, and learning how all the different parts works. What else? We did, it sounds stupid, but we did like when we first got there, like a first aid course. It was over like a weekend. But I just remember it being really fun. Like everyone just sort of, you know, had some laughs and bandaged each other up, and it was a good icebreaker. Really sort of know anyone that well at that point. So you can kind of get to know people and stuff a lot better through that. But I think, yeah, I just enjoyed, I mean, it'd been a long time since I'd been out of school. So I was just enjoying learning again, doing something different. And yeah, just learning new things. I think I kind of had moments that I remember that I hated, but majority of the course I enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. What was your worst experience? Was it the gas? Does that top it, or have you got another moment that sort of tops that?
I think there were three. I think the gas, I was absolutely terrified. There was right towards the end of the course, they got us to do this like adventure training, and everyone was super excited. Pretty much they had this like almost like giant power pole that we like climbed up, and then they were getting people to jump off and grab like a pull-up bar and do as many chin-ups as they could. I didn't know until that very moment that I had an absolute crippling fear of heights, and have never been so terrified in my life when I got up there. But I think field definitely was the most challenging, just purely because of sleep deprivation. It's like so exhausted to the point where you're not even really, you're just sort of robotic. You're not functioning that great. And for us, it was quite hot during the day and then cold at night, like freezing at night. So just being out there and dealing with the temperatures. We were lucky we didn't get any rain. Thank God for that. But yeah, the sleep deprivation thing that I don't think you can prepare for. Just one of those things.
It's tough. Like, yeah, when you get put through that sort of stuff and like you realize how important sleep is, and just not getting any, it's very, very hard to function and even think straight. And yeah, like a big thing that I always bring up, and I noticed in those sort of situations, again, fitness side of things, it must be just that endurance, your body's ability just to cope with stress. But you see it, like you see people that hold their fitness to a high level, be able to withstand those type of stressful environments that little bit easier. Like you're still going to be bloody off your head because you got no sleep. But I've seen it, really play a big role, and that ability to still be able to at least think okay, and not just sitting there. And I've had people where I've been talking to them in those environments, and they don't even, like, you can't even make sense of what they're talking about. Like they're just, it's so weird. Like they just go off in fairyland. Crazy. All right, now
Right though, like
next
I think
things.
the
No, go ahead. There must be a little bit of a delay.
sorry, I think I was a couple seconds behind you. I was just gonna say, definitely the people that were a lot more physically fit on the course did significantly better at just coping with that and managing it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all
definitely.
I was gonna say.
All good. Okay, moving into IETs. So what I want you to do is just give a little bit of an overview of what IETs was like, especially compared to basic training. Like, was the level of like with the regimental stuff, did that sort of die off a little bit? Did it stick around? Yeah, were the days as full on as your basic training? And what sort of things that you did throughout your IETs for Air Force security? Oh, actually, firstly, for people that don't know, IETs, is it called IETs in RAAF? I'm assuming it is.
Yeah.
So it's initial employment training. So it's pretty much your training that you do specific to the job that you're going into. So you've done your basic training, you move into your IETs, you get pretty much the basic quals of what you need to do, like for whatever job that you're moving into. And then even as a mechanic, like we'd go through IETs and then we'd have OJTs. So we still had more training on the job before we were actually qualified in it. And I think even outside of OJTs, I think you just still had to wait a year before you're actually proficient. So for mechanics, it's a very long time before you're actually, proficient in your job. But other trades like for security, you get through pretty quick.
Yeah. So IETs was definitely very different. I had to wait. So after recruits, I got put into what's called holding. So we pretty much had to wait 6 weeks until our IETs started. And so I think for me, I like that because it was a good transition from going into recruits being a super intense thing and sort of get you a little bit wound up. So we had time to relax and go back to normal a little bit before IETs. And yeah, IETs was a lot more chill. Our core staff were a lot more approachable, relatable. They didn't really pull, they still had that sense of like rank in terms of, they're instructors and you need to respect them, but you could kind of get to know them as people a little bit more and ask them more questions, whereas at recruits, they're very like distant. And yeah, in terms of quarters, pretty much most of the stuff that we had at recruits almost went out the window in terms of like having to have your bed pristine or everything perfectly in a certain place and all that sort of stuff. We had almost like a little apartment to ourselves. It was like a king single bed and you had your own ensuite in your own room, which was nice. And as long as you kept that neat and tidy, we ended up having room inspections, I think, once a week. But they pretty much just came in there and just made sure you'd vacuumed and done your laundry. It wasn't super in depth. And in terms of training, I think I found it to be that they were a lot more understanding if you made mistakes. I think especially when it came to weapons, like at recruits, they really don't mess around with weapons. Like if you make a mistake, it's terrifying because you're going to get screamed at. Whereas I think because we were doing a little bit more complex things with weapons, they would still pull you up on it, but they wouldn't absolutely belt you for it. They'd just be like, hey, pay more attention, do it slowly, take a couple breaths. I think it became a lot more of like a adult learning environment. Like you're kind of a little bit more in charge of your own time, your own schedule, your own learning somewhat. After work was your time. You could do what you want with it. Whereas I found with recruits, something that I really struggled with was we'd finish, but it still wasn't really your time. You know, like you couldn't just chill out and watch a movie or go out for dinner or do any of that normal kind of relaxing stuff. You were still, I saw it still working. You were still doing something that they had, you know, a requirement of the course or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas at IETs, you're a little bit more of an actual person and you can have that relaxed time and, you know, sort of go to the gym if you want to do your own workouts. For security IETs, we still had compulsory like fitness training. So we'd still go to the gym every day. We had programs set up for us similar to recruits. We'd do that in the morning. So we'd get up. You could either choose to go to the mess for breakfast or you could have your own breakfast in your blocks. And then we'd travel to the school in little buses, like the course traveled together in little buses. And you'd start off, go to the gym, to about an hour session, same sort of situation, and then move into classes. But I think some of the course is classwork, but a lot of it is pretty hands-on. Like a lot of it, you know, you'll be going to the range or you'll be in the gym, like for OST, you'd be doing like hand-to-hand combat stuff and learning how to throw a kick or something. Or, you know, yeah, a lot of it was a lot more either outdoors or just active. It was less sort of sitting in a classroom and studying. It's still definitely present, but nowhere near as much.
Yeah. And how long is that course for you? How long is the IETs?
It was about 3 months. I think it's 14 weeks.
Okay.
But it's just under 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you enjoy it? Have fun there?
Yeah, it was really fun. I loved being in Brisbane as well. You know, from Melbourne, so I'm used to the cold weather, and it was just a really nice change, nice environment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really happy there. I wanted to stay there, but unfortunately that wasn't how it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, so pretty much what you're saying is, you jump in, you do basic training, you're pretty much there to be broken down. Like broken down's a bad word, but you know, it's just, you know, you're retrained. Like you're coming from civilian world, and they want to train you in a particular way. So you're taken away from your normal environment. You, like I said, you're working 24/7 there. You're sleeping with other people in the same room as you, working as a team all the time. And yeah, you don't really get that much time to yourself. And then once you go to IETs, a little bit more relaxed, more specific to your actual job, whereas basic training is just general soldering skills sort of thing. And then, with IETs, it gets more specific to your actual job, a little bit more relaxed, still a training environment. So it's still not, you know, kick back and do what you want, but
exactly.
more relaxed and learning a bit more about your actual job. Awesome. So you're currently 3 months into your actual posting now. So how have you been finding it so far?
It's been I think all 3 stages have been an absolute transition. I think for me, I might have a very different experience to someone else, even some people from my own course.
Yeah.
I got posted to RAAF sale, like I said, but for security, it's a very small base, very quiet base, not a lot of huge assets like you would find at Amberley or Darwin. So my job has been very, very chill, and I think it was a weird transition coming out of IETs. They sort of give you this mentality like it's going to be like almost like a Hollywood movie. You know, you're going to be like detaining people and like fighting people all the time and constantly like protecting secret stuff. Definitely not the case. I think if you're wanting a lot of that hustle and bustle adventure, that's something that I think DFR try and turn up a little bit. At the moment, my job is very, very relaxed. We do our patrols, and we can go to gym at work, but for majority of the time, we're not doing much. Purely because it's a quiet base as well. Like, as I said, like if you're at a very busy base, your experience is going to be very different.
For sure.
So yeah, it's been a nice change though, because I think after spending that long training, I was really keen to just sort of be able to relax and wind down and sort of not be so stressed and worried about stuff all the time. So it's actually, I think it was a good choice for me, because I sort of got to chill out for a little bit. So it's been nice.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, in regards to like all the cool stuff, the opportunities there at some points, but it's not going to be around all the time, and all depending on what, like you said, the units you go to. Some places are quieter, some it's the same as any sort of role in the defense force, in police, anything like that. Like different places will have just different environments and just different opportunities to actually put that job to use. And it all depends on what's going on in the world. I know when there's a lot of like natural disasters and stuff as well, we get a lot of opportunities to actually get out and help with that sort of stuff too. So, there's things pop up, but general life, it's not, going around detaining people and kicking doors in and everything like that.
Pretty much, yeah. It's not being like like a Hollywood movie or something. It's a lot more chill. However, if we were to go into a deployment, or if you were at a base where, like, I know that there are one or two bases where quite commonly they have people sort of try and break in, then it would be a lot more common. But for the most part, not so much.
Yeah, well, what's a brief overview of actually the job of a Air Force security? So just explain what you're supposed to do anyway.
Yeah, so our job role can be really fluid. It sort of depends if we're in a high threat, or if we're in an environment where there are a lot of security risks, our job role can change significantly. But for the day-to-day, effectively, you're doing patrols, counting the planes, making sure they're all there, pretty much just keeping a tally of the comings and goings of the aircraft. And then different aircraft has different security requirements. And we could also, pretty much, we're almost like first responders to any incidents on base. So Wilson's security, they run like the most front gates on pretty much all the bases. They'll call us if they have any issues, if someone's trying to break on, or if someone's being aggressive, or anyone else on the base can call us as well, almost like the police, in terms of if someone's being drunk and trying to start fights or something like that.
Yeah,
we'll be the first people to respond to it, and then we'll make a decision based on the situation, whether we'll get JMPU, which are military police, whether we get them involved, whether we get VicPol, or VicPol, whatever state you're in, like not like civilian police involved, or whether we can diffuse the situation ourselves. I mean, I've been called on, I think, 3 situations now, but they're not, me having to start fights with someone. I had one the other day because a dog got loose on base, and I had to go chase him down and pick him up. But things like that. Super high level security. We can also, for us, like if we have any information, like tangible security things, we've got a safe where we'll guard the area of whatever safe or room or whatever that asset is. We can guard that as well. But effectively patrolling, guarding any security assets, and responding to incidents. Is main 3 things that we do.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that clears it up pretty well. All right, guys, I've only got a couple of questions left here. So if you are thinking of asking some questions, make sure you chuck them in the comment section and we'll get around to them very shortly. I'll ask Tia those questions. So yeah, just a couple left here. So firstly, what's some advice you'd like to give someone that's actually considering joining the RAAF in particular?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know what my advice would be. I think definitely prepare your fitness before you get there, because it's going to help you in any sense of the word. But I think the biggest thing is just be there along for the ride, especially at recruits. They're going to do weird things. Sometimes they're going to yell at you when you don't feel like you deserve it or you feel like you've done anything wrong. You're just there to play the game and be there for the ride, and try not to take anything too personally. Just take it on the chin and just keep learning and moving forward. I think that was something that like our course struggled with a lot when we got in trouble. We constantly kick ourselves because we thought that we were failing or we were doing something wrong, but at the end of the day, even if you're the most perfect course, you're going to get in trouble. Even if you're the most perfect person, you're going to fuck something up. Like it's going to happen. It's part of the experience. They want to see how you handle failure. They want to make things stressful for you. It's going to be stressful. But if you just have an open mind and just take it all in like a sponge, you should be all right.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and just creating some resilience in yourself to actually be able to fail something and be able to just keep charging on. All right, I stuffed that up. We'll do it better next time. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing to be aware of before you get down there. So what's one thing that you wish you knew before you started your RAAF training? Is there anything in particular you would have liked to have known, other than you're not fighting people and kicking doors in every day?
Yeah, that was definitely something. I don't know. Like I think there are a lot of things that I struggled with that I didn't expect to struggle with. Majority of the course, like it's going to be stressful, but it's doable. It's easy. It's passable. Like they're not trying to set you up to fail. I think I learnt a lot of things about myself that I didn't know. So I don't know if I have like advice prior to going in there. I just feel like I had a lot of insight into once you face challenges that you haven't faced before, you sort of realize, like the whole fear of heights thing. Like I never knew I had a fear of heights until I got there. But same thing. Like I just tried to take it all in and just go 1 week at a time and make friends and that doesn't really answer your question. I'm sorry.
Well, you've given lots of stuff anyway that would definitely help people out through that sort of that time of not knowing what's coming up, and it is difficult to look back because all the knowledge is in your head now, and you wouldn't have don't really know what you didn't know back then. So all of this would definitely be helping anyway, and that resilience part that you're touching on there, that's a huge part of it. And I think just being aware of that before you join, and just take opportunities in your own life to improve that resilience. It's just like any other sort of muscle within your body. Like you can train your resilience to be really good. You're having shit days, good. That's you're going to have some sort of opportunity to work on that resilience in a shitty day. Like your day got completely out of whack and you're feeling crap and you don't feel like training today. Good. That's an opportunity to get in and create some resilience, do your training, and you'll feel better afterwards. And the more you tick it off, the more likely, like look at David Goggins. Here's a prime example because he never misses an opportunity to actually build up that resilience. And now he's just built for it. So and he'll tell you time and time again, it's something that you train. He didn't have it to start with. He was fat. He was lazy and all that sort of stuff, but he built it up, and it's just one step at a time, like you said, 1 week at a time, anything like that you just need to keep your eye on. And just working on that resilience, it will definitely help you just keep charging through for sure.
100%. Yeah.
We love David Goggins. We just got to comment. Awesome. All right, last one from me. Do you think the Battle Ready program helped you out with prepare for basic training?
100%. 100%. I think, like as I said at the start, I probably would have been pretty screwed if I didn't sort of take my training seriously before I got there. And I think something as well with regards to training that I didn't expect at recruits, I really wasn't used to walking with load. So, for example, we would march with the weapons a lot, and we'd go up and down 3 times a day to the mess, usually about a kilometre walk. So that's 3 Ks holding your rifle 24/7. Definitely takes a toll on your body for the first few weeks. So having that sort of run training, or even just having your steps up before you get there, so your body's sort of already ready for the amount of walking that you're going to be doing. Because God, like my legs and my arms and my triceps, my wrists, they were absolutely going numb for weeks, just until you sort of got used to that. And then when we did field phase and we started running with weapons, it added a whole another level of complexity to that as well. So without training, it's very likely that you end up sort of coming out with an injury because you just go from 0 to 1,000 so quickly.
Yeah, and that step side of things. I was speaking to PDI at Kapuka as well, and he that's a big thing that he brought up. Like, they're doing 20 to 30,000 steps at basic training every day. So if you're not used to that sort of thing, then it's a good thing to start picking up. Like, start setting some goals for yourself with your steps throughout the day, and just spread it across your day. Do 15 minutes here, there, and there, and start to build that up over time. You don't need to be hitting those sort of numbers, but at least get yourself conditioned to be very active through the day, so that you at least can withstand it a little bit better when you go down there. Awesome. All right, let's get into some questions. So we've got Jade, one from Jade. She put it up first thing in the event, so we'll go through hers. We'll see what we haven't answered already. So first one, what's the hardest part of training you endured and wish you prepared for more? Already answered. We got that one done. Do you get to experience all part of RAAF security, MP, MWDH, etc.? Do you understand that one?
I do. So in regards to the MP side, they're no longer affiliated with us, completely separate now. We do have a lot of parts of our training that are very similar to MPs, so they're transferable skills. If I were to become an MP, there are some courses that I wouldn't have to do anymore because I've already completed them. Like, for example, our OST. OST is like hand-to-hand combat, how to detain someone, how to handcuff someone. We do exactly the same training doctrine as federal police. In regards to military working dogs, and you didn't mention it, but AGIs as well, we don't really get much experience with it. They do sort of like a PowerPoint on a basic rundown of what the role is, how it influences us. Majority of the information you can get off that is either from your course instructors. So I think 2 or 3 of my instructors were ex military working dog handlers, and then we had an ADGI and we had a couple of people that were ex-army. So just through asking them questions of what their job role is like, you can get that. But they're all specializations within security that you have to have passed your sort of security basic, and then you go back and retrain. Usually for doggies, which is what most people are interested in, you have to be in for about a year. That can differ with a person, but usually it's pretty. A lot of people want to do it. It's high demand, so it can be really competitive. And the course, I remember speaking to a girl that was doing the course at the time, because where we train, just our normal security school, the doggies are actually right across the road from us, where they're training. So I remember speaking to one of the girls, and she was saying that a lot of them come off with injuries because they're not the same thing. Their bodies aren't used to that sort of stuff. Like the dogs pulling, like they'll end up with like wrist injuries or knee injuries and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth having that year in the actual job to get your fitness up even more and learn more about the job role and how dogs come into that before specializing. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really understand it anyway. So it was obviously a job specific one. But when you've explained it, I know, I understand what she was talking about. All right. So next one, have you joined an ADF sport club?
I personally haven't. I know some of the other guys have. I'm not really 100% sure how all that works. I know one of the girls on my course is going to go play netball, but I know they get to do, I think, one or two sports a year, and usually they'll travel somewhere. So one of the guys from my section just went to Sydney to play rugby, I think it was, and he was gone for like a week, and that's all paid by Defence. I think getting into ADF sport can be really competitive because you still need to sort of be at like a certain level. But if you want to play just like normal sport for fun, you can put in an application and find like a local sport and do it through that. But then you sort of won't have that whole like free travel experience. So if you're good at whatever sport that you're into, then 100% be heaps of fun to get paid and go play sport.
Yeah, they got a lot of perks. I definitely get away for some good trips with those ones.
100%.
So next question is, essentially during IETs, are you basically living with your squad/section?
Yes, yeah. So we all lived in the same block, but we all had individual rooms, and then we shared a common room that sort of had like a little kitchenette and a fridge and stuff. But you still live together, and then you're spending every day together. Usually you'll spend all the weekends together, but it's not as in your face as recruits. You're not sharing a room with 4 people and can't really escape from them. You still have a little bit more freedom at IETs, but you're with your one course the whole time.
It's a good opportunity because you're with those same people, you make some good friendships and stuff. So it's rather than,
and if you're lucky, like for me, I had a handful of people from my recruits be doing the same job role and be on the same IETs. So I was sort of with them for about 8 months altogether. Consistently,
isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, next one. So we got RAAF ASX. Sounds bloody amazing. So glad I'm going for this. Thank you so much, TR, for this career chat. Hyping me up for the RAAF. I can't see who's actually written these. I'm guessing this is Jade. I might be guessing. I'll have a look in the group later on. But do you know if a military working dog handler can muster in with Aggies, or an Aggie can become a canine handler?
So they're separate specializations. So you can be a military working dog handler and work with Aggies, and vice versa, but they're completely different jobs. So it's a lot more common for someone like me who's just like common course qualified, than to work with another. Transition between the two you would have to go and do another course and sort of either stop being an agi or being a dog handler to become the other. So one's very dog focused, similar to what I do, but with dogs. And agis are a lot more weapons, green phase, a lot more intense. They're sort of, like you said, like the infantry of the Air Force. It's like what I do now, but more in depth and a lot more intense. They're cool though.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. All right. Next one is, during the training, did you get to experience the different job roles within AFSEC? And thanks for this chat, Tia.
So that would be sort of similar in terms of specialization. Yeah. So you sort of just get like a little taste, but not super in depth.
Yeah. Another one. This is great stuff. Cheers. And then we've got, thank you, Tia. With RAAF, do you have any insight on officer entry level? And one question, after going in as security, are there any regrets or any other roles you wish you had opted for?
That's a good question. In terms of the officer, I don't really understand that question. I'm not commissioned, so
yeah,
to go officer, you would have to commission. You can become in the security sector, you can become an officer in the security sector, but you would have to completely retrain and your job role would look nothing like what mine is. So I'm not sure about that one. But
yeah,
what was the second?
That answers it. Yeah.
What was the second part of the question?
No, and then the second one was, did you have any regrets?
Yeah, I think as I was sort of hinting towards, they kind of sell it up a lot in terms of being than it is. I think it was sort of a contrast when I got into like my first hosting position. It's a lot more laid back than I was expecting. It's you kind of, to an extent, are glorified security guard, and obviously there are a lot of cool opportunities if we get to play, or if you specialize, you can do those cool things, but the day-to-day isn't quite what I was expecting. And in terms of other jobs that I would have looked at, I did consider remustering to movements. I think that the more I learned about that role, I kind of realized that travel and sort of going to lots of different places and doing like humanitarian aid and stuff, which was things that I was really interested in, was actually a lot more common in something like movements than it was in security. Yeah, like I feel like in terms of like the aid and stuff, like we might, for like a bushfire or a flood or something, pardon me, we might get called out to assist, but yeah, usually we're not like the first point of call for that stuff.
Yep. Awesome. All right, we've got one left, and it is, when you did the leap of faith at recruits, are you in a safety harness?
So I know people are going to think like I just made it out like you're just jumping off like a pole and hitting the dirt. Yes, we were in a harness. We had like a rope attached to us and sort of like a normal harness you would if you were going rock climbing. But when you were climbing the pole, it's literally like climbing a telephone pole. And when you get up to the top, that you've got to stand completely straight. So there's nothing to grab onto in case you're wobbly or whatever. So I know that there was a harness, but I felt very naked and vulnerable in that moment. Like I was just jumping into nothingness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's all safe.
Yeah. Even with the harness on, sometimes you're definitely questioning, this thing is going to catch me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is all the questions for tonight. So thank you very much. It's been a long one tonight. You've definitely gave plenty of information because, yeah, obviously you've gone through all of the training and you're actually posted in your job role right now, which is really good to see, especially, you know, when you first came on and started training with me with your goal to, like, your dream to actually get into this job role, and then to see you're on the other end and you're qualified and everything is just absolutely awesome. It's good to see you enjoying it and enjoyed the most part of all of your training. But yeah, I'm sure, and you can already just tell from the comments, this gives people loads of information. So it's really good that you're willing to go out and help people this way. So, you know, you've taken time out of your night, a whole, you know, over an hour now. So thank you very much for turning up and doing this for me, and for everyone else. And yeah, now it's time for us to just keep charging on with the training.
Yeah, I gotta get back into it a lot more seriously. But no, it's been really fun, and if anyone has any more questions, I'm happy to help out. Like, it's a lot happens in, you know, less than a year, and it's hard to answer every question. You sort of just don't really know what's going to happen until you're there, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. But this definitely clears up a fair bit of unknown. Like when I went through back in 2005, there wasn't even Facebook. So we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just sort of took the leap of faith back then. But at least now you've got this opportunity to, yeah, ask those questions and listen to people's experiences just like Tia's. So, yeah, that's awesome. All right, guys, as I've been sort of touching on a little bit through this, if you are keen to, you know, get a little bit of help with your training, either leading into your enlistment, or, you know, once you're through and you just need that little bit of help to pick your fitness up, then yeah, I'll have a link in the description of this post or this video, wherever you're watching it. There'll be a link in the description to check out the Battle Ready program, or just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to just chat to you and tell you all about it. But again, thank you very much, Tia, for doing this for us. If you do want to follow us on any sort of social media channel, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. We've got the Tactical Fitness Forum, which this is going live in, and I'm also in YouTube. So just look for the little logo that's up the top right of Tia's head there, Outperform Fitness, and give me a follow. All right, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've loved it. I've learned plenty. I don't know too much about these job roles, so it's always good to learn how the experience is and what you get up to throughout your basic training. Any last words, Tia, before we finish up?
No, it's been really fun. Like, I'm definitely glad I did this, and I'm happy that I could help out. I know when I started the whole process, I was very confused and probably feeling the same way as a lot of people. So yeah, no, it's been good. Thank you for offering for me.
Not a problem. It's been a pleasure. All right. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you very much for doing all this for us. Catch you later.
All right, bye.